Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks with something a little different today. I'm not much of a card maker. I mostly do scrapbook layouts, but this weekend happened to be my wedding anniversary, and as I was trying to think of a card I could make for my husband, I was thinking about the things that he likes and he's into, and right now he's way into Pokemon Go, and so I made him this fun little Pokeball card using the custom cutting system from Creative Memories and the alphabet stamp set to do the sentiment on the inside. And so after I gave it to him and he loved it, I got thinking, there may be others out there who have Pokemon fans in their family that might want to do a similar card. So I'm just going to do a quick little video about how to make your own Pokeball, maybe to use as a embellishment on a scrapbook page or to put together in a card like this. So all you need is the custom cutting system. You're going to need all 3 blades, the smallest circle. I mean, I guess you could do a bigger circle if you wanted to, but if you want this to fit in an envelope, a standard card size envelope, this is as big as you can go. And then white, black, and red cardstock. And you do not need whole pieces of the red and the black cardstock because we're just going to use a little bit. You are going to need probably a whole 12 by 12 piece of white, or a couple scraps because we want to have enough for the card, and I always like to have a couple extra to punch out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this smallest circle from the custom cutting system with the red blade, and we're going to cut out the red. And so you're going to put the little feet in the groove, circle around, and do not pick it up once you've finished this outside cut, because you want to be able to cut the inside to get the inside circle just lined up perfectly. All right, so we're going to cut this red one first. Now the white one's going to be even a little bit more tricky because we want to cut this piece at the same time. So actually I think with this one we're going to start all the way on the inside with the green circle. So we're going to cut with the green circle first. And then again, don't pick up your template because once you pick it up, it's super hard to reposition it. Sorry, I want you to be able to see it. So then we're going to take the red, make sure your feet are in the groove, drive it around. This is going to be actually a little scrap circle you could use for something else. And then we'll do the outside. Now, if you forget and you have picked up your thing and you moved it and you didn't cut the little green circle, you could always just take a corner and cut an extra green circle. But for me, it was nice to be able to cut these two pieces at the same time. And then you're going to take, so that was with the red blade and the green blade. And then you're going to take your circle again and cut around the whole thing with the green blade. And that's going to be the black outline for your Pokeball. Make sure you're cutting on a self-healing mat. Creative Memories does sell a mat, or if you have, like for me, I just have this beautiful big mat that I bought on Amazon on my cutting surface, and I love it. So here's my black circle, my red and my white circle. And then the way I did the positioning was I just folded the circle in half. I tried measuring, but that was just a little bit too hard for me to get it exactly. Circles are hard to find the exact center of, and I wanted this to be precise. So I took both circles and I folded them in half and I creased them really good. And then I took my trimmer and I lined up the fold in between these 2 lines on my cutting guide. So this first line here closest to the logo is the line I'm going to, where the cut is going to happen. And then the other is the cut when you flip over the mat. And actually you can look at my cutting mat and see that it's starting to look like it might be time to flip over. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the lines, I'll draw with a pencil so you can see these lines. All right, so when if you, you still can't see those lines, sorry. I'm gonna line them up right here so that the folds are right between those two lines. And I'm gonna cut, and I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. I'm gonna line the folds up between the two lines. And then use a little bit of tape runner. Position one on here and position the other just up against it, lining up, trying to get an even spacing all the way around and between the two pieces. And then I'll take this last little middle piece and put this in the middle. Now, as I've been paying attention, I realized there's supposed to be a smaller black line in here. I didn't do that. I haven't figured out yet how to do it. You could, I don't think you could even do it with this. You could maybe do a, like draw a circle. I'm not going to do it. If you want a circle on the inside, I'm going to let somebody else figure out how to do that. This is what I came up with. I think it looks really fun. So if all you want is a Pokemon for your scrapbook layout, you're done. You don't have to keep watching. If you want to do the card, we're going to keep going with the card. And I'm going to take my piece of a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to take this same circle that I used, but I'm going to use the blue blade this time. And you want it to be able to fold. So you're not going to make the whole circle. You're going to kind of cut off the edge of the fold. So what I like to do with the blue blade is I can tell when I position this based on where my little yellow blade is going, you know, that I have a little bit of space right here to be the fold. So I've got it maybe about a 1/4 inch, a little less than a 1/4 inch, but I can see that the blue, the yellow blade is off the edge right here, and I'm going to cut around. And it's going to be a little trickier because I am cutting through two thicknesses of white cardstock here. So it's real important to make sure you've cut before you pick anything up. All right, but that worked okay. You can see I have the little hinge to fold, and so once I stick this down, it will just, you know, it pokes a little bit off the top, but you don't really notice that. So I'm gonna go and stick this down. And then the really fun part, and this is an idea that was shared by a CM advisor in Canada named Tammy McEwen, shared this idea recently about how to use your custom cutting system patterns with the stamp, the alphabet stamp system. So you guys probably know how to stamp. You've probably done some, you know, stamping with a stamp block. The alphabet stamp system does come with a stamp block. So if you want to stamp something straight, that's, you know, that's exactly what this is for. It has lines to help you line it up. I just thought this was a really fun idea using this plastic template. So if you look at the custom cutting system circles, the top side has these little grooves that the feet from the blades ride in so that you get your exact same circle, your perfect circle when you cut. We're going to use the opposite side. It does have a little grippy section, and those aren't going to get in the way at all. You just work around those. So of course, with Pokemon, we know that the saying is, I choose you. So that's what I decided to write on here. And I am going to use these little grippy pads to make sure that my saying is right where I want it, you know, straight and right where I want it to be. And I'm lining it right up against this inside edge of the custom cutting system template. So I'm going to do I, and you have to work backwards. You got to think backwards. So C, and this is going to be a little tricky because if you are spelling ahead, you know that I choose you has 3 O's, but are stamps that you only get one of each letter. So I'm going to take the G, which as you can see is about the same size as the O, and I'm going to put the G on here. I'm going to see if I can pull this down a little bit. Whoa, sorry. All right, hopefully that helps you. Use that as a placeholder, and then the S and the E. And again, I'm lining it up with this inside edge of the template. I choose U. Okay, again, I need this O. I don't have this O. I'm going to take a Q and put that as my placeholder so that I know exactly where my stamps are getting positioned. All right, so now I've put all my stamps on here. I'm going to flip it over, and then you can see, looking through here, you can kind of see the words. It's easier on the letters I've used before, but you can check it and make sure that it's straight, that the letters are kind of aligned the way you want them. You know, straight up and down. You want them going out. You may not be quite as fussy as I am. I'm a little bit particular about some of these things, but okay, so I've got this. I want to remove my placeholders because I don't want to print with the Q and the G in places of those O's. So now you're going to take your ink pad that comes in the kit. Remember to keep this little plastic cover on top of the ink. It's going to help your ink to not dry out. So I'm going to save that, set that aside, and then I like to put, instead of stamping the stamps onto my ink pad like this, I like to stamp the ink onto the stamps. I feel like I have better control. I can see a little bit better what my coverage looks like, and it just seems to stamp more evenly. All right, so here I've stamped my ink on there, and I'm going to come over here and make sure that I'm leaving enough space to cut this out when I'm done, and press really firmly and evenly. Make sure that all these stamps really can connect, and then lift straight up. Okay, so that one didn't work very well, so I'm going to pull out my backup piece of paper. Actually, I'm going to use the back because we're going to just stick this onto the card. You'll never see the back. So let's try again. Especially if you're working on those those white plastic tables that a lot of scrapbookers use. Sometimes you won't get quite the design that you, or the impression that you would like, because those tables have a little bit of give. But this time I think it was just user error. There's no reason why that shouldn't have worked for me. So, okay, that still didn't work. I'm not real happy with that. But you could keep going till you got a perfect image. I'm gonna try and fix this later. But I like to just then I just have a cheap microfiber cloth. I think I bought it at the dollar store. And it's just moistened with some water. I have a little plastic tub that it sits in, and I feel like this cleans off the stamps really nicely. Gets that ink right off, gets into all the little grooves. There are other stamp cleaners you can use, but I think this just works. Okay, so for this, we don't need any of these other letters again, except maybe the H. I might come back and clean that up with the H, but I'm going to put them all back on my little card so that I'll be able to find them the next time. I know lots of people, lots of stampers who have had a random stamp go astray. And then because this time I only have the one, let's see, it's a little, I'll make sure it's dried off all the way. I'm not gonna turn the stamp upside down. I'll just do it like normal, like this, and I'll ink it up. And then I'm gonna, again, use this circle to make sure that I've got my ink where I want it, that my stamping is exactly lined up, because I can use that circle. Well, I guess it's where it's going. And then put it in here. All right, not my best stamping ever. That's why I like to do it on, if you notice, I'm stamping it on an extra piece of paper and not on my card itself, because stamping can be a little unforgiving. And so I like to have something I can easily redo. So I'm just gonna see if I can fix this H. The nice thing about these stamps is that they're clear, and so you can like align exactly with what you're doing. All right, so again, not my best stamping ever. If I was really giving this card, I would probably stamp it again, but I'll just clean that off. Just super easy with just a damp cloth with water. You don't need anything, any kind of fancy stamp cleaners or anything like that. Then I'm gonna cover up my ink pad. And, whoops, put these stamps out of the way. That was a fun little light flicker. All right, and then let this dry. This ink does tend to smear a little bit because it's a permanent archival ink. It does need to dry. And I've lost my, there it is. And so it's going to smear, but if you're doing this for real, let it dry better than this. And then I'm going to take the green blade again, and just on the outside of this. If you remember, we used the blue blade for the actual card, so I know that the green blade is going to be just a hair smaller. Oh, and I broke my rule. I didn't check to make sure it was already cut before I picked it up. And so then again, you can just take your tape, you know, we're hiding this one where I messed up on the back, and put it in your card, and it gives you a little space to write your note to, you know, the person you're sending this to, your Pokemon, the Pokemon players in your life. And here's your little Pokemon Go greeting card you can use for any purpose, or use as a embellishment on your scrapbook page. So if you are a Pokemon player out there, I hope that this has been a fun tutorial for you and something that you can use in your own albums or as a card to give as a gift to somebody. Thanks a lot. Happy scrapbooking and happy Pokemon playing.